In a world addicted to noise, the quietest man often holds the most power. Everyone's rushing to be heard, talking over each other, posting every thought, every feeling as if validation is oxygen. But the real strength, it's not in the volume, it's in the silence. It's in the man who doesn't react on impulse, doesn't chase attention, and doesn't reveal more than he intends. He's the one no one can quite read, and that mystery makes him magnetic. This isn't coldness, it isn't detachment, it's control, precision, calm beneath pressure. It's power in its most refined form, dominance disguised as indifference. Being nonchalant doesn't mean you're numb, it means you're intentional, strategic. You don't give the world your emotions on a silver platter, you choose what you show and when. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He knew power wasn't just held, it was performed. Even when the kingdom burned, the king had to look composed. Because the moment they see panic, they seize control. But if they see nothing, no cracks, no desperation, no urgency, they're left guessing, and guessing breeds fear. The less they know, the more they imagine. What you conceal becomes your advantage. The nonchalant man isn't loud. He doesn't rush to speak just to fill space. He's the quiet one watching while the rest unravel. While others spiral over rumors, chase opinions, and beg to be heard, he remains still, focused, not out of weakness, out of awareness. He doesn't react to noise. He moves with purpose when the moment is right. And that timing, that restraint, it's what makes him dangerous. There's power in being unreadable. When people can't pin you down, they start to wonder, why isn't he reacting? Why doesn't he chase? Why does he seem untouched? That tension, that mystery, it tilts the balance. They lean in because you're not leaning at all. The unknown pulls, the predictable fades. Machiavelli never told rulers to wear their hearts on their sleeves. He warned them, never reveal your full hand. Nonchalance is the modern version of that wisdom. It doesn't mean you don't feel, it means you don't leak. You feel everything, but you reveal nothing. You think deeply, but look unbothered. You stay 5 steps ahead, while seeming like you're just watching. That's the game. You don't adapt to their emotions, they adjust to yours. Because silence unsettles, distance makes them reach. And when you don't need them, they want you more. They start revealing, rambling, guessing. All while you say nothing. They think they're leading, but they're following your calm. And by the time they realize it, they've given you the advantage. You didn't flinch, you didn't chase, you didn't even speak, but now they're hooked because you didn't. That's power most people never understand. See, the man who needs nothing ends up with the most, because what you don't ask for, others feel compelled to give. What you don't demand becomes more valuable. Your detachment becomes gravity. Your silence creates pressure. Your stillness holds the entire room. But don't confuse this with being born unbothered. This calm is earned, trained, sharpened. The nonchalant man has learned to pause instead of react, to feel without exposing, to move only when it means something. He's mastered the difference between noise and necessity, between being seen and being remembered. He doesn't waste presence. He doesn't dilute himself by chasing approval. He acts with precision. And when he does, people stop, people listen, because true confidence never begs to be noticed. It looks like you don't care, even when you care deeply, because emotion is currency. And the nonchalant man, he never spends it all in one place. People don't respect what they understand. They respect what they can't predict, can't pin down, can't control. That's the power of the nonchalant man. He becomes the variable they can't figure out. In a world that rewards noise, he stands out by staying silent. He's the calm in chaos, the still one in a frantic room. Not detached, just directed. Not cold, just controlled. He watches while others perform, speaks less but says more, moves slow but with purpose. And because he does, every word lands heavier, every action hits harder. Nonchalance isn't arrogance, it's alignment, it's clarity, it's knowing what matters and ignoring the rest. That's why he doesn't react. Not because he's numb, but because he's already processed the moment before it arrived. He's not flinching because he's already accepted the outcome. He doesn't panic because he's done the inner work. His peace isn't performative, it's practiced. And while most people broadcast their insecurity, with nervous laughs, apologies before opinions, and endless self-disclosure, he remains rooted. He doesn't posture, doesn't shrink, doesn't bend his frame to fit in. He walks like he belongs, because in his mind, he already does. And that calm, it unnerves the crowd, it rattles the insecure. Because in a world addicted to validation, a man who moves without needing applause is dangerous. Machiavelli understood this. He knew strength alone isn't enough. You must master when to reveal it, and when to withhold it. People respond to perception. If they seek control, they assume power. If they sense calm, they start questioning their chaos. That's the edge. The nonchalant man doesn't try to look in control. He is in control. And because he is, his face doesn't betray emotion. His voice doesn't rush. His posture never begs. Nonchalance isn't some performance. It's not a mask you throw on to seem cool. It's what's left when you've outgrown emotional desperation. It's what happens when you stop chasing what doesn't feed you, when attention stops being the goal, when you no longer need people to get you, because you've already gotten yourself. And that self-understanding, it slows you down, but not in a lazy way, in a deliberate one. The man who speaks every thought, who reacts to every jab, who chases every opportunity, burns out fast. He wastes his presence. But the one who waits, who holds tension without flinching, who moves after he thinks, not before, that man, he rises. There's power in holding back, in letting others expose themselves, in giving silence time to do its work. Every time you resist an emotional reaction, you train your mind. Every time you wait while others speak, you gain clarity. And clarity is leverage. They may call you cold. They may think you're distant. But you're not here to be liked. You're here to lead. Real winning isn't about noise. It's not about being everywhere. It's about endurance, precision, longevity. And that's what nonchalance gives you. The ability to last longer, stand stronger, and move smarter. Don't mistake stillness for softness. This isn't passivity. It's intentional patience. It's weaponized calm. It says, I'm not here to react to you. I'm here to outlast you. Every room has one man who doesn't flinch, doesn't chase, doesn't compete. He doesn't fight for attention. He lets attention fight for him. He speaks only when silence would be a loss. And when he does, everyone listens. That's not charisma. That's self-mastery. And in a world full of noise, that is unforgettable. You'll feel the pressure to speak more, to be seen, to prove your worth. But real confidence doesn't perform. It doesn't chase the spotlight. It simply exists, steady, self-contained, undeniable. And when that kind of calm enters a room, everyone feels it. Sure, people might mistake it for arrogance. Let them. Nonchalance doesn't come from ego. It comes from inner order. It's knowing when to speak, when to act, when to disappear. It's the ability to feel everything and show nothing, to carry depth in silence, to observe without reacting. And that stillness, it pulls. People are drawn to what retreats. They crave what ignores them. They respect what doesn't seek their validation. That's the paradox. The less you show, the more they imagine. The less you chase, the more they pursue. The less you speak, the more your words hit. The nonchalant man doesn't lack thoughts. He just doesn't waste them. He doesn't respond to noise. He reserves his presence for moments that matter. And when he shows up, people pay attention, not because he asks for it, but because they've been waiting. Machiavelli once said, "It's better to appear virtuous than to be virtuous." In the same way, appearing indifferent is more commanding than being numb, because numbness is weakness. But feeling deeply and still choosing calm, that's real strength. It's sitting in discomfort without showing pain, hearing insults without lowering yourself, facing temptation without folding. It's owning your emotion without offering it up. Because truth is, you don't owe the world your vulnerability. You choose what gets your energy. You choose what earns your reaction. That's confidence, not in volume, not in presence, but in restraint. Watch how silence shakes people. They rush to fill the space. They talk too much, reveal too much, try too hard. And while they scramble, you gather leverage. This isn't about playing games. It's about owning your space, protecting your energy, defending your clarity. When someone tries to provoke you and you don't move, you win. When they pull back and you don't chase, they question their value. When they lash out and you stay calm, they lose control. Because this power isn't aggressive, it's disciplined. It's built slowly, through years of self-awareness, through battles no one saw, through learning the pause between impulse and action. Reaction is emotional reflex. Response is refined clarity. Reaction explodes. Response decides. And the nonchalant man? He doesn't rush. He's not desperate. He's not selling himself to be liked. He already knows his worth. He already knows where he stands. And that quiet conviction, that's what speaks loudest. No pitch, no performance, just presence. You'll be misunderstood. They'll call you cold, distant, unbothered. Let them. You're not here to please. You're here to stay rooted, to move only when it matters. Hold steady when they misread you. Stay silent when your ego wants applause. Wait when the world demands reaction. That's the price of composure, the cost of inner strength. There will be moments you feel weak for not speaking, moments where silence feels like surrender. But that's your ego, not your instinct. Most people react too fast, talk too loud, move too soon, and in doing so, they become predictable, forgettable. But the calm man, the still one, he stays in their minds, long after he's gone, because people never forget how someone made them feel. And if your stillness made them feel unsure, curious, off balance, you just shifted the power without ever touching it. Not by pushing, not by demanding, but by holding the line. You didn't chase approval, didn't flinch, didn't need to win the moment because you already owned yourself. And that's the rarest kind of dominance. There's a reason real leaders wait to speak, a reason the strongest men speak softly. Because when you carry real power, you don't need to raise your voice. Your silence does the work. You don't need to jump into every argument. You don't need to speak just to be seen. Let others compete for noise. Let them wear themselves out trying to matter. Because when the echo fades, when the room quiets down, you're still there, steady, centered, unmistakably present. The nonchalant man doesn't race the clock. He doesn't bend to trends or chase applause. He knows the world runs on impulse, but he doesn't have to. Everyone's chasing noise. But the man who stays quiet, he becomes the signal. That's the paradox. The less you need attention, the more it finds you. True presence isn't loud. It's earned through detachment. It's what's left when you've stopped needing the world to notice you. Machiavelli understood perception. He warned, being feared is safer than being loved, as long as you're not hated. And nonchalance. It walks that razor-thin line with grace. It demands respect, but never begs for love. It holds power without making noise. Because when power is quiet, it's harder to attack. When it's unreadable, it's harder to resist. When the nonchalant man speaks, people stop. Not because he shouts, but because he doesn't have to. When he moves, people adjust. Not because he forces it, but because he's intentional. He wastes nothing, not words, not presence, not energy. And that scarcity, it's unforgettable. People crave certainty. They search for anchors in a world of waves. The nonchalant man becomes that. Not by fixing everything, but by being unmoved by it. He doesn't explain. He doesn't correct. He lets silence create tension, and tension creates respect. He is the calm center in the middle of the storm, not by pretending, but by training himself to stay still while others spiral. Every moment he doesn't react, he sharpens his edge. Every urge resisted becomes strength. Most people are owned by emotion. The nonchalant man owns his. And because of that, he owns the room. He owns the moment. He owns himself. Even in relationships, nonchalance is misunderstood. It's not manipulation, it's self-respect. It's the power to love without losing your identity, to give without overextending, to show up without shrinking yourself. That kind of presence pulls people in, not because you chase, but because you don't. There's a rare kind of beauty in not needing, in arriving already full, in keeping your peace sacred. The nonchalant man isn't cold. He's just composed. His calm isn't an act, it's an outcome, shaped by solitude, strengthened by self-discipline, earned through experience. Machiavelli said, "Fortune favors the bold." But boldness doesn't always roar. Sometimes boldness looks like refusing to be baited, like staying still when everything wants you to react. Restraint is power. And in a world screaming to be seen, the man who can hold his energy, he becomes unforgettable. The world will test your calm. It will try to shake you, to pull you into the noise. But your strength is measured by your stillness, by how little you're moved. Can you stand in fire and not flinch? Can you be insulted and stay composed? Can you be misunderstood and not explain? That's the test. That's the edge. That's what makes you rare. You don't stumble into nonchalance. You build it through repetition, through silence, through moments where your emotions scream, and you still choose restraint. True power doesn't need an introduction. It doesn't seek approval. It doesn't apologize for its presence. It's just there, rooted, measured, unmistakable. Nonchalance isn't indifference. It's discipline, not distance, but control. The art of feeling deeply and reacting rarely. That's not a performance. That's self-mastery. Understand this. You are not born nonchalant. You are born reactive. You learn this edge by facing discomfort and refusing to run, by sitting with tension and letting it sharpen you, by giving up your addiction to being understood. And once you do, you stop chasing clarity and start becoming it. Machiavelli understood the theater of power. He knew people don't respond to truth. They respond to perception. If you look desperate, they treat you as weak. If you appear calm, they assume you are in control. The nonchalant man understands this. His consistency is his armor. He is not swayed by who's watching. He is the same in solitude, in chaos, in conflict. That constancy builds respect. That stillness builds control. When others realize they cannot provoke you, they adapt. They second guess. They reveal themselves. And in your stillness, they see their own instability. Your composure becomes a mirror, reflecting everything they're trying to hide. This is not about superiority. It is about sovereignty. To master your space, to rule your energy, to be so inwardly grounded that no one can pull you off balance. That is the essence of nonchalance. Not pretending not to care, but caring so deliberately that nothing external dictates your state. A calm face will shake louder voices. A quiet presence will outweigh performative strength. You don't trade your power for sympathy. You don't beg to be seen. You let people wonder. You let them project. And you remain still. Because stillness is contrast. And contrast is power. In a world that never stops talking, the one who listens becomes dangerous. In a world that reacts, the one who pauses becomes powerful. In a world addicted to stimulation, the one who stays composed becomes unforgettable. People won't remember all you said. They will remember how you made them feel. And to be around someone who needs nothing, reacts to nothing, and chases no one, that creates tension. That creates gravity. That creates power. If you want respect, stop performing. Stop rushing to respond. Stop explaining what doesn't need to be said. Start watching. Start measuring. Start valuing your presence like the most precious currency you have, because it is. Power is not always loud. Often it whispers. Often it waits. Often it simply watches while the world unravels itself. The man who does not flinch, who does not react, who does not rush, he becomes legend. Not because of what he says, but because of what he doesn't. That is nonchalance.